how was El Salvador? Tell us what happened.
It was a very productive trip. So we just got back today, the three other representatives and myself, and we spent the entirety of the time pushing the U.S. government and the Donald Trump administration to abide by the Supreme Court's decision to return Kilmar Garcia to his home here in the United States. And I think that the most impactful parts of the trip, we in my view, are that we got to travel with the family's lawyer, who provided very helpful context about the situation to date, what had happened with Senator Van Hollen, what more they needed. And he really guided us throughout the entire process. We were able to meet with the U.S. Embassy and get some answers there in terms of what has and hasn't taken place in regard to what the U.S. government has actually asked for when it comes to the facilitation of Mr. Garcia's return. And that is what led us to write two letters, one to Secretary of State Marco Rubio with a list of demands, and the other also to the U.S. Embassy, in particular in regard to the case of Andre Hernandez Romero.
I know that a lot of my followers and I, of course, we want to know, how can we push this administration to be held accountable when they openly defy a Supreme Court order like this? Like, it's a very scary thing to see happening and playing out.
Yeah, absolutely. Given the fact that this administration continues to quote unquote flood the zone, which means like every single day they're doing a million things that are problematic, that are a huge cause for concern, right? Like just in the last 2 weeks, we've had reckless tariff policies. We've had more gutting of federal agencies. We had another signal scandal with Pete Hegseth completely losing Americans' trust with national security. So what Donald Trump is hoping will happen is that this story will get brushed under the rug and he can just move on and continue to defy the Supreme Court. We can't let that happen. Honestly, I think this issue transcends partisanship because it's really about the rule of law. It's about due process and following the Supreme Court and our Constitution. So people need to keep talking about this issue. People need to keep advocating for this issue. And, you know, whether or not you are advocating specifically about Mr. Garcia, or you are advocating about the larger issue, which is due process, keep this at the forefront when you're calling your representatives, when you're talking to your friends and family. That's a big part of the reason why we went to El Salvador, because we know that we need to keep the pressure on, and we're not going to be the last ones to go.
No, absolutely. People are asking that a lot. They're saying, well, like, what about everyone else who is sent without due process?
Yeah, it's absolutely about them as well. And it is unfortunate that some of those cases have gotten less attention. I think what makes this case a little bit more unique is that Kilmar has been living in the United States. His wife is a U.S. citizen. He's a union member, sheet metal worker. His union leadership just made a massive statement. The president of the building trades spoke about him very publicly and called for his return. But that being said, there are others. There is also hundreds of Venezuelan migrants who were illegally deported to this prison in El Salvador. There's Andre Hernandez Romero's case. It's a devastating case. This is somebody who was legally trying to come to the United States through the CBP-1 program. A gay artist who had some crown tattoos. I have a tattoo. Like, anyone can say, you can't just call anyone you want a gang member and then deport them to a foreign country, and that's that. And that's what this president is trying to do. And I think the other piece that is so terrifying that really I can't let go of is Trump's comments about homegrowns. I'm sure you saw the scene in the Oval Office where he said, I want to talk to you about homegrowns. They want to really quadruple the size of CCOT in El Salvador. Trump is paying $20,000 per prisoner. So the government of El Salvador is making a significant amount of money over this, and that's also an issue that they are compromised in that sense, and that they don't have a financial incentive to try to follow the law either. But again, it's not really about them; it's about our government following our laws.